Ladies, I'm here today to talk about something that can make a significant difference in how you are perceived by others, especially men. You may have heard that your value is intrinsic and doesn't rely on external factors. And while that's true in many ways, the reality is that the way you present yourself does play a crucial role in how you're viewed. There are certain behaviors, mindsets, and actions that can diminish your value in the eyes of a man. Today, let's explore the 4 things that can kill your value in front of a man, and how to avoid them. Desperation is one of the quickest ways to diminish your value in the eyes of a man. It's not always intentional, but it's something that can be sensed. When a woman comes off as desperate, it signals to a man that she lacks confidence, self-worth, or emotional stability. Whether it's constantly reaching out, begging for attention, or trying too hard to impress, desperation gives off the vibe that you need him more than you need yourself, and that's never attractive. It disrupts the natural flow of a connection and puts pressure where there should be ease. When you act desperate, you send the message that he is the prize and you're just lucky to have him. This completely reverses the dynamic and creates an imbalance in the relationship. Men are naturally drawn to women who value themselves and understand that they are just as much the prize. Desperation undermines this power and places you in a position where you appear to be chasing love instead of attracting it. You woman never begs to be seen. She simply is, and her presence is felt. Desperation is also emotionally exhausting, not only for you but for the person on the receiving end. Constantly needing validation, reassurance, or attention puts strain on the relationship. It drains the energy between you and creates a dependency that feels suffocating. A man doesn't want to feel like your emotional stability depends on him. That's a responsibility he didn't sign up for. Instead, he's drawn to the woman who brings peace, not pressure. Another way desperation shows up is through overgiving. Doing too much too soon, trying to prove your worth through acts of service, gifts, or constant availability may seem generous, but it often stems from a fear of not being enough. It's as if you're trying to buy his love or approval. But a man won't value what is handed to him too easily. He values what he has to earn, what comes with intention, and what is offered from a place of strength, not insecurity. Social media can make this even worse. Posting stories or pictures aimed at getting his attention, trying to make him jealous, or always checking if he's seen your posts. These things might feel harmless, but they scream desperation. Men can feel it, even if they don't say it. A woman who is secure in herself doesn't need to play games to be noticed. She lets her energy speak louder than her actions, and that subtle power is far more compelling. Desperation can also show itself in how you react when he pulls away. If you panic, overthink, or start chasing, it reveals that your emotional security is tied to his presence. A confident woman, on the other hand, knows that distance is sometimes necessary and that her world doesn't collapse when a man steps back. She doesn't chase, she allows, and in that calmness she maintains her value even in his absence. Often, desperation is rooted in fear. The fear of being alone, not being chosen, or losing someone. But living in fear leads to actions that repel rather than attract. When you operate from a place of fear, you're no longer your authentic self. You become someone who's trying to mold and adjust just to be accepted, and that's when you lose your power. A man senses when you're afraid of losing him more than you love yourself, and that's when his interest begins to fade. The truth is, you are already enough as you are. You don't need to prove your worth by clinging to someone or bending over backwards just to be liked. Desperation clouds your judgment, lowers your standards, and makes you settle for less than you deserve. The more you operate from a place of self-assurance, the less you feel the need to chase, and the less you chase, the more you attract effortlessly. Boundaries are one of the most important things you can establish in any relationship, especially with a man. When you don't have clear boundaries, you open the door to being mistreated, misunderstood, or taken for granted. A lack of boundaries sends the message that you don't fully value or protect your peace. Whether it's emotional, physical, or even digital boundaries, if they're not in place, you'll find yourself constantly compromising your needs to keep someone else comfortable. Many women struggle with setting boundaries because they fear it will push a man away or make them seem too much. But the truth is, the opposite is true. A man may test your boundaries at times, but if he sees that you stand firm in them, he will develop a deeper level of respect for you. Boundaries show that you respect yourself, and a man can't truly respect you if he sees you don't even respect your own values, time, or energy. When you allow a man to cross your boundaries repeatedly, like showing up late without explanation, speaking to you disrespectfully, or disappearing and returning whenever it suits him, you're teaching him how to treat you. Whether you realize it or not, your silence becomes permission. Every time you accept behavior that violates your standards, you chip away at your value in his eyes. Respect isn't something you can demand. It's something that's earned through consistency and self-respect. One of the most dangerous beliefs is thinking that love means tolerating everything. Love does not mean accepting disrespect, betrayal, or neglect. Love has limits, and healthy love thrives where boundaries are honored. If you don't draw the line, no one else will do it for you. And without lines, you'll find yourself running in circles, constantly giving, constantly forgiving, and constantly losing parts of yourself to keep the peace. A lack of boundaries also leads to emotional burnout. You may start to feel resentful, exhausted, or anxious in the relationship because you're always pouring into someone who never pours back. That's not love, that's imbalance. Boundaries are what keep your emotional well full. They ensure that you're not just a giver, but also a receiver. When a man sees that you're emotionally balanced and that your peace matters, he'll either rise to meet your level or remove himself, and either outcome is a win. Some women confuse boundaries with ultimatums, but they're not the same. An ultimatum tries to control the other person. A boundary controls your own behavior. For example, a boundary isn't "you better not talk to other women." It's "if I see you engaging with other women in a disrespectful way, I will remove myself from this relationship." Boundaries are about what you do to protect your peace, not about trying to force someone to change. Setting boundaries doesn't make you difficult, dramatic, or cold. It makes you self-aware, mature, and emotionally intelligent. Men who are serious about you will actually be relieved to see that you have standards. It tells them that you're not just looking for attention, you're looking for alignment, and that makes you stand out from women who are willing to accept anything just to keep a man around. The absence of boundaries is often rooted in a fear of rejection. You worry that if you say no, he'll leave, but what you need to realize is that anyone who walks away because you set a healthy boundary is someone who was never going to respect you in the first place. Your boundaries filter out the ones who aren't worthy of access to you, and that's not a loss, it's protection. A major mistake many women make in relationships is losing themselves in the man they love. When your entire world starts to revolve around him, your time, your energy, your decisions, it sends a message that your identity is tied to his presence. This level of dependency doesn't build attraction, it creates emotional weight. A man may initially enjoy the attention, but over time he will feel smothered and begin to pull away. True value in a relationship is built when both people maintain their individuality. Men are naturally drawn to women who have their own lives, who are busy, focused, and driven by something greater than the relationship itself. When a man sees that you have your own goals, dreams, and passions, he's intrigued. He wants to learn more, be a part of your world, and support what matters to you. But when your life becomes a mirror of his, when your goals disappear and your schedule revolves around him, your individuality fades, and so does his desire to pursue you. Being overly dependent on a man for emotional fulfillment also places an unrealistic burden on him. No one, no matter how much they love you, can be your everything. Expecting a man to fill every void in your life, validate your worth, or rescue you from your own unhappiness is not only unfair, it's unsustainable. He will eventually feel like he's carrying the weight of your emotional well-being, and that can drive him away. Emotional independence is attractive because it shows that you can care deeply without collapsing into someone else. Your value increases when you show that you can stand on your own. This doesn't mean being distant or cold, it means being balanced. You enjoy his company, but you don't need it to feel whole. You can miss him without falling apart. You can support him without losing focus on your own path. That kind of balance is magnetic. It tells him you're not in the relationship out of desperation or loneliness, but from a place of true partnership. Another way dependency can hurt your value is through constant availability. When you're always accessible, always ready to answer his calls, drop everything for him, or adjust your plans just to be near him, you send the signal that your time isn't valuable. People value what isn't always easy to access. When you're selective with your time and energy, a man is more likely to appreciate you, respect you, and pursue you with greater intention. Losing yourself in a man also affects your self-esteem over time. You begin to forget who you were before the relationship. You start to neglect the things that once brought you joy, the friendships that once uplifted you, and the goals that once motivated you. Eventually, you may find yourself feeling empty and unfulfilled, not because of him, but because you abandoned yourself. A man can never love you properly if you've stopped loving yourself. Women who maintain a sense of identity in their relationships are harder to replace. Why? Because they bring more to the table than love and attention. They bring depth. They bring ambition, creativity, and a life that's already fulfilling with or without a man, and that makes them unforgettable. A man knows that if he loses a woman like that, he's not just losing affection, he's losing something powerful and rare. Being independent doesn't mean rejecting love or pushing him away. It means creating a healthy space where both people can grow individually and together. When you stop depending on him to be your everything, you create room for real connection, respect, and intimacy. A man will value you more when he sees that you value your own life just as much as the one you're building with him. Self-respect is the foundation of how you teach others to treat you. When you don't respect yourself, it reflects in everything, from the choices you make to the energy you tolerate. A woman who lacks self-respect will find herself constantly in situations where she's undervalued, mistreated, or overlooked. Why? Because people mirror the energy you give off. If you don't hold yourself to a high standard, no one else will either. A man in particular will sense this and act accordingly. When a woman accepts the bare minimum, it tells a man she doesn't believe she deserves more. She might think she's being patient or understanding, but in reality, she's shrinking herself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Over time, this not only kills her value in his eyes, but also slowly chips away at her own self-worth. A man will only rise to meet the level of respect you demand, not through words, but through the way you carry yourself and the boundaries you enforce. Self-respect means saying no when something doesn't align with your values, even if it means disappointing someone you care about. It's refusing to accept breadcrumbs when you know you deserve the whole loaf. Many women stay silent out of fear of being alone, fear of confrontation, or fear of losing him. But every time you silence your voice to keep someone else around, you betray yourself, and over time you lose not only their respect, but your own. You can't fake self-respect. It's not about being loud or aggressive. It's a quiet confidence, a calm certainty that says, "I know my worth and I won't settle." It shows in the way you walk, speak, and carry yourself. A man may test you, intentionally or not, but how you respond will show him exactly who he's dealing with. A woman with self-respect doesn't argue for her place. She simply removes herself from anything that feels beneath her standards. Lack of self-respect often shows up in how you handle red flags. If a man lies, disrespects you, cheats, or manipulates you, and you stay hoping he'll change, you're telling him loud and clear that your standards are negotiable. You're saying your peace, happiness, and dignity are all worth sacrificing to keep him. That's not love, that's self-abandonment. A man may enjoy the convenience of it, but he will never truly value it. When you truly respect yourself, You don't have to chase, beg, or force anything. You know that anyone who wants to be in your life must come correct. You understand that peace is more valuable than presence, and you'd rather be alone in truth than with someone who makes you question your worth. This energy is powerful, and it instantly changes how others see and treat you, especially a man. Men pay close attention to how a woman treats herself. Do you prioritize your health, your time, your dreams? Do you surround yourself with people who uplift and support you? Or do you tolerate toxicity, overextend yourself, and constantly compromise just to be accepted? A man will either be inspired by your self-respect or intimidated by it. But either way, it filters out the ones who are unworthy of your love. At the end of the day, self-respect is your greatest source of power. It protects you from situations that don't serve you and people who don't value you. When you have it, you don't fear losing someone, because you know that losing yourself is a much greater cost. And a woman who refuses to lose herself for love is a woman no man can ever truly replace. One of the most damaging things a woman can do to her value in a man's eyes is to constantly pursue him. When you are always initiating, always calling, texting, planning, checking in, or trying to move the relationship forward, you place yourself in a position of chasing rather than choosing. While relationships require effort from both sides, there must be a balance. If the effort is one-sided, it signals imbalance, and that imbalance quickly turns into disinterest from his side. Men are wired to pursue. It's not just cultural, it's psychological. When a man is interested, he will show it. He will find ways to reach out, make time, and make it known that he wants you in his life. If you're the one doing all the reaching, reminding, and arranging, you take that natural drive away from him. And when a man no longer feels like he's earning your time and attention, he begins to devalue it, even if he once admired you. Over-pursuing also creates a power shift. It communicates that you're more invested in him than he is in you. Even if he liked you in the beginning, constant pursuit can turn interest into obligation. He may start to feel pressured, like he's being boxed into something he hasn't chosen for himself. And when that happens, he will either distance himself emotionally or start pulling away entirely. The energy of desperation becomes louder than the connection. When you pursue excessively, it can also reflect a lack of patience and trust in your own value. Instead of allowing things to unfold naturally, you try to control the pace. You want answers, definitions, reassurance fast, but real connection takes time. If you're always trying to make something happen, it shows you don't trust that what's meant for you will come with ease. And that lack of trust in yourself makes a man question what else might be lacking beneath the surface. There's also something deeply attractive about a woman who is in her feminine energy, receptive, open, yet confident and selective. She doesn't need to chase because she understands her worth. She allows herself to be pursued, and she evaluates based on how the man shows up. When you flip that and do the chasing, you move out of your feminine energy and into a role that doesn't align with your natural power. That shift changes the entire dynamic, and not in your favor. It's important to note that not pursuing doesn't mean playing games or being manipulative. It means creating space. It means showing interest without overextending. It means letting a man take the lead in building the connection while you stay grounded in yourself. Worth. When a man sees that he has to earn your time, he respects it. When he feels like you're giving everything before he's even invested, he questions why. Men value what they work for. That's not about making things hard for the sake of being difficult. It's about allowing him to experience the joy of winning you, step by step. When you over-pursue, you rob him of that journey. You hand over something he hasn't earned yet, and just like anything in life that's too easy, it starts to lose its meaning. Effort and patience are your allies, not your enemies, in building something real. A high-value woman doesn't chase, she attracts. She knows that her presence, her peace, and her energy are valuable. She observes instead of forces. She receives instead of clings. And in doing so, she creates the kind of space that allows a man to step up, show up, and prove that he's worthy of her time. Over-pursuing may get attention temporarily, but it rarely leads to long-term respect. Let him come to you, And if he doesn't, that silence is your answer. One of the most attractive qualities a woman can have is independence. It's living a life full of meaning, purpose, and passion outside of a relationship. When you have your own life, you signal that you're not waiting for a man to complete you. You're already whole. That energy is powerful, magnetic, and unforgettable. It tells a man that while you may want him, you don't need him, and that difference alone can completely shift how he sees and values you. Having your own life means more than just going through the motions of work and responsibilities. It means actively pursuing what lights you up, your goals, your hobbies, your relationships with friends and family. It means investing in yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. When you're engaged in things that feed your soul, you glow differently. You have a presence that speaks before you even open your mouth, and a man can feel that. Many women unintentionally lose their sense of identity in relationships. They stop doing the things they love. They abandon their routines, distance themselves from friends, and slowly start living in the shadow of their partner's world. This doesn't happen overnight. It's subtle. But over time, the woman becomes less of who she truly is, and more of what she thinks he wants her to be. And that's how her value begins to fade, not because she isn't worthy, but because she's disconnected from her own light. When you have your own life, you remain grounded. You're not overly swayed by his moods, availability, or validation. If he's busy or distant, you're not shaken, because your day, your joy, and your confidence don't depend on him. This emotional stability is rare and highly attractive. It shows maturity, strength, and emotional intelligence. A woman who doesn't lose herself in a relationship is the kind of woman a man knows he can build something real with. Living your own life also means honoring your ambitions. Whether it's advancing in your career, starting a business, writing that book, traveling the world, or simply mastering a skill you love, you have something that drives you. Men respect women with vision. They admire women who wake up with purpose and go to sleep fulfilled. When you bring that ambition into a relationship, it creates an energy of inspiration rather than dependence. Friendships are another vital part of having your own life. When you keep your circle strong, when you stay connected to people who uplift you and tell you the truth, you remain emotionally supported and socially fulfilled. Your relationship doesn't have to carry the full weight of your emotional needs. That balance allows your romantic connection to be more joyful, more intentional, and less emotionally burdened. It's also about keeping your routine and your self-care sacred. Your workouts, your skincare, your morning coffee rituals, your reading time, whatever helps you stay grounded and connected to yourself. When a man sees that you still make time for you, he understands that you value your peace. That tells him something critical. If he wants to be part of your life, he needs to add to it, not subtract from it. Having your own life creates healthy space in a relationship. That space keeps desire alive. When you're always available, always accommodating, always right there, it can dull the spark. But when you have things going on, when you're occasionally unavailable because you're doing you, it adds a layer of mystery and respect. He begins to wonder about your world. He gets excited to be part of it, not just observe it. Ultimately, having your own life doesn't push a good man away. It pulls him closer, because a man who's truly looking for something real doesn't want a woman who disappears into him. He wants a woman who stands beside him, not behind him. A woman who has her own direction, her own dreams, her own shine. That kind of woman doesn't just capture his attention. She earns his admiration. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to healthy, respectful relationships. When a woman has strong boundaries, it means she knows where she ends and where others begin. She understands what she will and won't tolerate, and she's not afraid to communicate that. This isn't about being controlling or distant. It's about honoring herself. Boundaries tell the world, especially a man, how to treat her, and that's one of the most powerful forms of self-love a woman can express. A woman without boundaries often finds herself exhausted, hurt, and confused, constantly giving, compromising, and overextending just to keep the peace or feel accepted. She says yes when she wants to say no. She tolerates behaviors that violate her values, and over time she begins to resent not just others, but herself. This resentment doesn't come from the outside. It grows from the inside when a woman knows she's betraying her own needs to accommodate someone else's. Having boundaries means you teach others how to love you. It shows that you are emotionally mature enough to advocate for yourself. A man may test you, intentionally or not, but when he sees that you stick to your boundaries, he understands that he's dealing with a woman who respects herself. That level of self-respect doesn't just earn his admiration, it sets the tone for the entire relationship. It shows him that your love is valuable because it comes with standards. Boundaries also help filter out people who are not meant for you. When you say, "I don't accept disrespect," and someone continues to disrespect you, they've revealed themselves, and instead of trying to fix them or prove your worth, your boundaries allow you to walk away without guilt. That ability to leave, to protect your peace without explanation or apology, is a sign of deep self-love. You are no longer afraid of being alone. You're afraid of abandoning yourself. A lot of women fear that boundaries will push a man away. But the truth is, the right man won't be intimidated by your boundaries. He'll be attracted to them. He'll respect you more because you respect yourself. Weak boundaries invite confusion, but strong boundaries create clarity. A man knows exactly what you expect, what you'll accept, and where the line is. That clarity makes space for trust, growth, and healthy communication. When you don't set boundaries, you give people silent permission to cross them. You can't blame others for what you allow. Whether it's a man calling you only when it's convenient, cancelling plans last minute, or making disrespectful comments, your response determines your value in his eyes. Every time you ignore a red flag or let something slide, you reinforce the idea that your standards are flexible, and the more flexible they become, the less he values your presence. Boundaries are not just about what you don't want, they're also about what you do want. You create space for real connection by saying, "This is how I feel safe. This is how I feel loved. This is how I feel respected." And a man who genuinely cares will listen and adjust. The ones who won't simply weren't ready to meet you at your level. You don't lose anything by honoring your needs. You simply make room for someone who will rise to meet them. You also begin to love yourself more deeply when you practice boundaries consistently. It's not easy. It requires courage, especially if you're used to people pleasing or avoiding conflict. But every time you stand firm, every time you choose peace over pressure, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. That internal strength radiates. A woman who knows how to protect her heart is a woman who knows how to love from a place of fullness, not fear. Ultimately, boundaries are the highest expression of self-worth. They don't make you hard to love, they make you impossible to misuse, and the woman who understands this doesn't chase, beg, or over-explain. She simply leads with grace, stands firm in truth, and lets her boundaries speak the language of self-respect. That kind of woman isn't just desired, she's deeply valued. Your value is not something a man gives you, it's something you already possess. It doesn't depend on how many compliments you receive, how much attention you get, or whether or not a man chooses you. When your value comes from within, it means you've done the inner work. You've looked in the mirror and recognized your worth, not based on external validation, but from a deep, unshakable place of self-acceptance and confidence. That kind of value can't be diminished by anyone's opinion, behavior, or presence. Many women fall into the trap of measuring their worth by how a man treats them. If he's calling, texting, showing up, they feel valuable. If he's distant, dismissive, or unresponsive, they feel inadequate. This mindset is dangerous because it ties your identity to something you can't control, someone else's actions. But when your value is rooted in who you are, not what someone else thinks of you, you become emotionally untouchable. You're not shaken every time someone enters or exits your life. A woman who knows her value doesn't panic when someone withdraws. She doesn't shrink when she's misunderstood or mistreated. She doesn't question her worth every time a man loses interest. Why? Because she understands that someone's inability to recognize her value says more about them than it does about her. She doesn't internalize rejection. She uses it as redirection. Her self-worth is not up for negotiation because it wasn't built on approval in the first place. When your value comes from within, you stop seeking permission to be enough. You stop waiting for someone to choose you, validate you, or complete you. You realize that you were already whole before they arrived, and you'll still be whole if they leave. That energy is magnetic. A woman who carries herself with that kind of quiet confidence doesn't need to beg for attention. Her presence speaks volumes. A man can feel when a woman needs him versus when she values herself first. It also changes the way you show up in relationships. You're no longer desperate to prove yourself, to overgive, or to sacrifice your needs just to keep someone. You bring peace, not pressure. You bring truth, not performance. You listen instead of chase, because deep down you know, if you have to lose yourself to keep someone, that's not love, it's fear. And fear-based connections never lead to fulfillment, only exhaustion. When you believe your value comes from within, you're not jealous of other women, you're inspired. You understand that someone else's beauty, success, or confidence doesn't take away from yours. You're not competing for a man's attention because you know that the right man will never need to be convinced. He'll see your worth because you see it first. He'll respect your boundaries because you respect them. He'll match your energy because you're not lowering yours to accommodate him. This internal value is also what gives you resilience. Life will test you. People will disappoint you. Relationships will challenge you. But when your worth isn't dependent on any of that, you bend. But you don't break. You learn, you grow, and you keep becoming the best version of yourself. And that inner strength is what keeps you grounded no matter what storms come your way. You walk with grace because you know who you are even when others don't. It's not arrogance and it's not pride. It's a deep, loving relationship with yourself. A woman who values herself doesn't need to prove her worth through loud declarations or dramatic actions. Her peace, her posture, her decisions, those do all the talking. She's not moved by fear of loss or desperate for attention. She knows that anything she loses while staying true to herself was never meant to stay. That kind of self-trust makes her unforgettable. Ultimately, when your value comes from within, you become your own home. You don't look for a man to save you, validate you, or define you. You let love in, not because you're empty, but because you're full. A man can sense when a woman carries herself this way, and it shifts how he approaches her. She's not just someone to impress, she's someone to respect, honor, and rise for, because she already sees herself as valuable, with or without his attention.